I just felt like I wish they compared Willie Paul to someone like Bahati or people who maybe they grew up in the same category. A fortnight ago, maybe is it a fortnight or a week ago? I think a week ago, I found myself trending on Twitter and I didn't understand why. I was like, okay, what have I done this time round? So, of course, as usual, I rushed there to check what's happening. And then I discovered it was something that was trending that was very interesting, whereby someone had pitted me against Willie Paul and they asked between Daddy Owen and Willie Paul, who's better? And I found that very interesting because I saw people writing threads and saw people writing small comments here and there. Others are just writing Daddy Owen, others just writing Willie Paul. And others were writing like a full thread of how they know me. Most of those threads, by the way, guys are just writing lies. They are not factual at all. And I was just like, okay. The others which I was just reading and I was like, what is this guy talking about? Is he talking about me or is there another Daddy Owen around? But coming to my point is, I found that to be very interesting. And why is it interesting? I just felt like I wish they compared Willie Paul to someone like Bahati or people who maybe they grew up in the same category, and people who maybe you can say they're on the same level or they're doing the same genre of music. It's easier to compare than first and foremost. I don't think even it's important to compare our careers, because my career path is very different from Willie Paul's career path. And I remember when I went to Ikonini podcast and I said, I've been in the industry for like 20 years. If there's one person, one single artist who I find to be very, very talented here in Kenya, is Willie Paul. I believe Willie Paul is a gem we have as a country when it comes to music. It's only that he's like our Kanye West. It's really hard to understand that man, because I wanted to say a young boy because he came to the industry as a young boy, but right now he's a man. He comes out like he's very, very cocky and arrogant, which sometimes so many people don't know how to handle it. But if you go back and understand why some musicians or some sportsmen or some great people in a society, they end up being a bit cocky, they need it. There are some people who need it to become who they are. They have to do. It's like the people who just need different kind of powers. The people who believe they have to take drugs before they go on stage or before they do something. The people who they need to hide. The people who are superstitious about something. But there are people who I believe they just need to be a bit cocky. Considering, like, I've done a background check because I'm a musician. I'm in that space. I understand. Some of these guys need this element of cockiness for them to thrive. Because if you look at their background, maybe they come from a background whereby no one told them they're good. Or each and every time they believed in their heart they are so good. But people around them, they brush them off. And they tell them you're not good, you can't achieve it. So deep down they feel like, I need something extra to boost me to believe that I can do it. And unfortunately, it goes out and comes out as if they are a loose cannon, people who have a lot of power and they can't control. And to us who consume their products or their talent, we always have an element of what we want them to be. If you look at, I can name a few greats who I know they are greats, but they are cocky in a way. I can name a few or many great people who I know they are a bit cocky. They have that element of being cocky, arrogant, brushy, just for them to attain that great element of their lives. If you look at Muhammad Ali, if you look at people like Cristiano Ronaldo, look at Floyd Mayweather, they need that push. It comes out like they're a bit supercilious. But for me, I believe they need it for them to achieve that level of greatness. So Willie Paul is one of those guys. And I remember one story whereby there's a time Burna Boy came here in Kenya. And it was a very huge story from Kenyan media guys. Everyone complained that Burna Boy is arrogant, this guy is a diva and all that. When he had that like first hint of achievement, you remember, for me, I categorize musicians in very different levels. And every musician has that deep. You must hit a certain deep before you come out and become bigger again. There's a time Burna Boy was big and then he hit a deep and then he came out again. But when he had that first great stint, I remember when he came to Kenya, everyone complained. And right now, everyone is saying how great he is. And everyone is talking about how great he is because we don't see that element of him now because he's already achieved all those things. But before you achieve it, people look at you like you're too arrogant. But give it to them. They need it. They need that zeal. They need that thing to push them to become who they are. Coming back to my point, I always feel like there are some greats you don't need to compare. I saw that tweet and was like, why compare that Owen and Willie Pose? Just enjoy that you live in an era where you can enjoy both in a different sequence of different times. Because I believe I came in before Akina Pose and I paved way for some of these great talents. Because why am I saying that? I remember there's a time one of the greatest awards in Kenya was called Groove Awards. During Groove Awards, I remember there's a time, a stint of, or a period of time where I won it like 3 or 4 times consecutively, like 4 times in a row. And I was like, I think it's time for me to pave way for other upcoming musicians, at least for them to have a chance to win it. Because at that time, the greatest award was the Male Artist of the Year. So I was like, I think I need to pave way for some of the upcoming musicians to have a chance. And even for them to showcase who they are and what they can do. And eventually, I think immediately after that is when Willie Paul came through and won the Male Artist of the Year or something. I think it was immediately after that, or after that it was Ekodid and then Willie Paul or something. But to say that you need to compare Willie Paul and Daddy Owen, I think is a debate that I've had with so many of my friends. I always say, sometimes it's not good to compare even Cristiano Ronaldo to Messi. I feel Cristiano Ronaldo has achieved a lot, same as Messi. And all of them come with very different attributes. Someone like Messi, maybe it's more of just pure talent that he was born with. And then Cristiano is more of self-belief and believing that as much as I'm limited in some way, I can still compete with the greats and people who are gifted, people who are just born with that gift. And I enjoy that. I enjoy such kind of people who believe that no matter how great someone else is, I can still compete with them and I can be on the same table with them. I remember during the pandemic, the lockdown period, there was a show called, I think, Versus or something in America. And I used to watch that show and I wonder, why would they even just take 2 great musicians and put them on one stage and make them like compete with each other? Music is not like a boxing match. It's just more of, everyone comes with very different elements. Like, it's really hard to compare. Even if people look like they sing the same genre of music, it's really hard to compare their strength and their weaknesses unless you are playing in the same. You see, like football this is like a same genre or something that you guys, all of you, are doing at the same time. Boxing is like you guys are on the same weight, because it's really hard to compare someone who is on the bantam weight or middleweight with someone who is boxing at at heavyweight. So if you guys on the same heavyweight level, then it's easy. Let's go one-on-one and see who's better. But when you guys have very different paths when it comes to your career, you sing different genres, you appeal to very different crowds, you had very different times and stints. Because I believe before you even name someone like a GOAT or the greatest of all times, there are so many attributes that for me I always look at. I always say there are things like consistency, I look at longevity, I look at ability, I look at your impact in the society, considering how great you are, maybe either if you're a footballer or a musician, or you're just thriving in any other category of career. So all in all, I consider Pose one of those great musicians. I just, of course, if you ask me anything, I just pray that he comes back to gospel music and sing for the Lord. Apart from that, I believe he's had a very good career, and it's unnecessary to even compare me and Pose, considering our different paths and considering our achievements in the music industry and what we've done. At the same time, we pay homage to people who came before us. The same way I always respect guys who come after us, because there's something called recency biasness. Recency biasness is whereby you always feel like the people who you've seen or musicians who you've had are better than the ones who your fathers or generation before heard about them, or a generation before saw them playing football. That's why nowadays, if you start that conversation, everyone will vote for a musician or a footballer they've seen right now. And I appreciate, because on Twitter I saw so many people were like, hey, so many people appreciated us very different, in a very different manner to appreciate what we've done. I wouldn't want it to be like a vote kind of thing. I wouldn't want it to be like who had more tweets and all that. I just felt like it's important to appreciate all of us in a different way and appreciate what we've done for the music industry in Kenya. And that's my take. Sometimes it's not necessary to pit two musicians against each other. Just appreciate that you've listened to all of them and enjoy what they're doing and what they've done and their contribution to the music industry in Kenya. And like I said, there's something called recency biasness, whereby most guys will always feel like the people who are doing it now are better than the people who did it before. I see guys comparing Michael Jordan and LeBron James. And of course, with the internet era, everyone is like, LeBron is the best. But people who watched Jordan play will tell you, oh my, that guy is the greatest basketballer of all time. But it's really hard to argue that fact right now, because the young guys who, I call them the guys of the internet era, will come up with stats and they'll beat you with stats, because right now we live in a computerized era whereby everything you do can be counted. Some of us, we had careers whereby when there was no YouTube, you understand? Well, Kenyan musicians didn't know how even to upload music videos on YouTube. YouTube found us here just doing our own thing. So, and I appreciate the internet era. I appreciate that nowadays everyone has a chance to expose and bring forth what you believe is good in you. And I appreciate the argument. So I'm not saying don't do it. I know I can't stop anyone to do such comparisons, but I just felt like I need to throw in my 2 cents, whereby